Hello, viewers. This is Vibhuti Jha, and this is Jaipur Dialogue USA. Just as always, my request to you, please like, subscribe, and support our channel. Give your feedback. We value your comments. Today, we are going to talk about Bangladesh. A lot has happened, as we know. Because being in the media, we know a little bit more than average. But these days, news travels, as I always say, euphemistically speaking, faster than the speed of lightning. We no longer read newspapers for news. We have access to so many tools that information flows and flies literally. Talking about Bangladesh, the plight of that country, the plight of its people, the plight of Hindus. Where exactly are we heading out to? We know that the news cycle in the world is today dominated by Gaza peace, President Trump's inauguration, India Delhi elections. But the issues that Bangladesh is going through right now, in my opinion, it has international ramifications. To talk about this, I have great pleasure for the first time to welcome Barrister Tania Amir from
Thank you,
London.
Vibhuti.
Right?
Great to
You are
be
in London proper, Tania, is it?
Sorry?
Are you in London proper?
I am in London at the moment.
Brilliant,
Absolutely.
brilliant.
Yes.
So Tania Amir is from Bangladesh and she feels very strongly about it. And in this free flowing conversation, we want to know from her, from the legal angle, international angle, social, political, religious angles, where is Bangladesh heading towards? And what are the impact and implications of what's going on there? Tania,
Right.
fire
Thank
away.
you. We have a interim government, which is very unusual, given a vacuum that was created once Sheikh Hasina left the administration for India. Uh, and in order to legitimize this government, they sought an opinion from the appellate division of the Supreme Court of Bangladesh. And allegedly, based on that opinion, the Supreme Court had said that given there's a vacuum, there could be an interim government. Now, what is very interesting, Vibhuti, that no one has seen this opinion. There has been a lack of transparency, and exactly what this opinion says, no one really knows. I myself tried through my good office and through various journalist friends, through the clerk from the registrar of the Supreme Court, but we don't have it. So the people of this republic do not know on what basis, what is this opinion that they have come into power. Now, there are two things that's disturbing. Once Dr. Yunus was there, I think there was a lot of expectation that things would be put straight. However, uh, there were jailbreaks, and soon after the government came in, the jailbreaks were in order to release the terrorists. And soon after the government came in, they released convicts who were terrorists involved with holy artisan incidents and various other acts of simultaneous bombing across Bangladesh. So this is very, very disturbing because I know of no civilized country where the forces, the police, the RAB had worked so hard to get these terrorists behind bar, and they have been released unconditionally. And once the jails have been cleared, guess who've been put behind bars? Journalists, almost 200 journalists today, are behind bars. And what is the allegation against them? Of murder. Human rights activists are behind bars. Lawyers are behind bars. So the jails have been cleared up and the terrorists have been released. No convict can be released in this manner. And instead, all these other human rights defenders are behind bars. So this is very disturbing. Number two is an indemnity has been passed by the government led by Dr. Yunus, whereby they're not going to look into or investigate the en masse killings that occurred both against unarmed civilian as well as the police. 4,000 police uh, offices and thanas were burned to ground. And certain sinister groups have in possession now all the arms and ammunitions, the walkie talkies that belong to the police stations. And if on average we say about 2 to 3 police officers died, that's a huge number. So there's an indemnity that has been given, no questions asked, no investigation upon these unarmed civilians and police that were killed and butchered. And the killing style is very disturbing, Vibhuti. It's the ISIS style of killing. The pictures are very gruesome. The way they've been slaughtered, like how animals are slaughtered. Even animals we don't slaughter anymore in this manner. Their corpses are hung upside down from various bridges, trees. Um, so the signature of this is not normal. I mean, killing itself is not normal, but it's almost a ISIS type of terrorist type of killing. And thirdly, the we don't have a very big balance of trade or surplus of any sort with Pakistan. Our trade is not all that great. Now, recently, the government has again taken a policy to allow vessels, ocean-going vessels from Pakistan, to enter our ports. And our customs officer, who are doing their day-to-day normal job of checking the consignment, which is a normal routine work, that whatever the LC says, do the consignment actually conform to the description that's given in the sale documents, particularly the LC and so on. As they were prevented from doing their jobs, they were suspended, and the cargo that has come in were not checked. So a lot of people are suspecting, and in the media, in the social media, that arms are coming into the territory of Bangladesh, and a second consignment has also come. So these are very disturbing, if you like, dots, if we can connect the dots. And the cases that has been filed en masse, it's the same template. They're all for murder cases against journalists, human rights defenders, lawyers, social activists, and the minorities. You talked about the Hindus. Vibhuti, it's not just the Hindus, it's also the Sufi shrines. They have been decimated and just crushed to the ground. So, Lalun, their group of ascetic bows, they speak about and sing about universal love. Um, their festivities were stopped. Street theaters, um, uh, activists, actors, actresses, um, they're under threat, and women. Particularly young ladies, young women going for walks um, uh, in the parks, they're being intimidated, and fatwas has been issued in various bazaars in the uh, various villages that do not accept any goods or commodities prepared by women, don't allow them to sell their products in the market, and you will not sell any products to women. The bazaar is for men. So these are the kind of very, very disturbing, uh, uh, and the government is sitting idle and, in a sense, giving these groups of people a form of impunity. In addition to that, we also have this, they call themselves student leaders or facilitators who are acting as a kind of the government's, uh, if you like, almost hooligans, going around getting professors and teachers, forcing them to resign from various posts. And so much so, they went to the Supreme Court, the judges of the Supreme Court inside their chamber and intimidated them, gotten them to resign. So the question of security of tenure of the judiciary is now at a serious risk. And this is happening in open daylight. and no action is being taken against them. Yet, arrests are being made against Chinmay Das leaders, minorities. Um, as I already said, um, journalists, um, human rights activists, they're being arrested. And the cases are not even creative, it's the same template that's being used. And everyone is accused of murder. And now the government is pleading that they're absolutely helpless because they're not the complainants. The complainants are the parents of those who were killed during this uprising. Yet, when journalists and human rights activists are interviewing the complainant, they're saying, we didn't give their name. And in each case, there are about 300 named accused and about 5 to 700 unnamed accused. So the case is never going to see the light of day. There's never going to be any justice. So I would also like to see, as someone who believes in rule of law, that those who perished, that the culprits are brought to the books. But the way how these cases have been filed, the cases are damaged from the very outset, from its very inception. And then the government issued office orders, two, not one, that spurious cases that are filed against people where it is preposterous, their names would be withdrawn, there would be a police report, and they will not be arrested. This the government said both in September and in October. Unfortunately, the government has done nothing, nothing thus far. So this is a kind of an admission by the government also that that spurious cases have been filed. So on the one hand, the government is trying to go after genocide, yet the same government has given an indemnity or not to look and investigate the mass killings that occurred. So it's absolutely self contradictory. It makes no sense.
Thank you very much for such a powerful opening statement. And that is a worrisome matter because all the things that you have listed out, point by point, I don't want to repeat that. But my thought process is, how did it all happen so suddenly? It was definitely very well planned. As the interim president, I would call the interim president, interim government. He brought a young man to say that, oh, he planned the whole thing. It was going on for a long while. How was it so secretively done, or was it in collusion with powers that be that wanted Bangladesh to be in a pot boiler? And
Yeah.
Yunus has come about. He's a buddy of Soros, Clinton Foundation, and everything else. He's a Nobel Peace Prize winner. He accused that Sheikh Hasina has closed down his bank and Grameen Bank and whatever. But the question is it related to the island that was US did not get demanded? So there are so many gossips, so many guesswork. What is the truth?
Um, the truth. I wonder if anyone has the truth. But what I can help you, Vibhuti, and your viewers is perhaps some of the facts. And the facts, as we see it, I leave it to your viewers to connect the dots and let them, once they've connected dots, come to their own conclusion. So I don't want to be someone who is, preaching the truth, but intelligent viewers that they are, I think they're very capable of coming to their own conclusion. So the movement was against quota that was preserved or reserved for freedom fighters and their children and so on. So what is very interesting, the previous government had removed any such quota. So there was no such quota. So what had happened is a very curious public interest case was filed before the High Court Division of the Supreme Court. And by virtue of that judgment, the concerned judges, the bench said that this quota can be reinstated. And against that quota, and this was the quota or affirmative action or positive discrimination, whatever way you want to frame it, in order to reserve 10% or more government jobs in favor of the freedom fighters. Now, we are all against discrimination. I, for one, from the time I've started practicing in the Supreme Court, that's one of the things that I do. I do a judicial review and writ petition and human rights work. And their Article 27, 28, 26 is what guarantees equality for all citizens and no discrimination on the basis of color, gender, caste, or place of birth. So we argued before the court that quota or affirmative action or positive discrimination is reserved for those who are backward in society for historical reason and for women, and even that so for a limited period of time, so that the government or the state can take action, as it happened during the civil rights movement in US for the Black people.
Mhm.
So, and that is only for a limited period of time. So, and the government had also appealed that judgment. So, government was also on the same page. The government itself didn't believe in this sort of quotas, and we also argued that the frame of the constitution never deemed the freedom fighters, the Muktijoddhas, as backward section of society. If anything, they're avant-gardes of our society. So the question of quota for the freedom fighters or their, you know, children or grandchildren doesn't arise. So
Is a TV on in your room? Because I see a background sound coming out.
right,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, is that better?
Yes, this is perfect. Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, so this we had the judgment from the court, and the matter was more or less settled. And once the matter was settled, the street agitations continued. And Vibhuti, I'm not you know, it is what is uh, coming to the forefront now through social media and various reels is that there seemed to be a sinister third force. And even one of the advisors said that 7.62 bullets and snipers were used against the police. And the civilians do not have access to that. So, where did that come from? We see pictures and silhouettes where skirmishes is going on between the student front and various other fronts with the police on the ground. And we have the metro rail, which is, you know, elevated platform, and there we see silhouettes of individuals in plain clothes with snipers shooting down. We have incidents where children who are in the balcony of the first floor or second floor were killed. Now, if there was shooting going on downstairs or on the ground, the trajectory of the bullet cannot be that it went to the first or the second floor. And they cannot be firing from top either because they're not on the roof. So, you know, the helicopter firing, the alleged helicopter firing, cannot hit these people. So it seems that there was a sinister third force. And what we are also beginning to see, which is alien to us, is the ISIS flag in various activities of the so called students. The ISIS flag is being flown, and sometimes the Palestinian flag, the Hamas flag. This is, you know, it's not in even Bengali, it's in Arabic. Most of us don't understand Urdu or Arabic, you see. So um, these are being flown, and which is very, very disturbing. So uh, the connection with Hizb ut-Tahrir and Shibir and Jamaat Islam is very strong. The students, the so-called leaders, have admitted not too long ago that their comrades were Shibir. So uh, out of 150 or 60 odd student leaders, 108 were Shibir. And in a sense, the question is whether they duped the general public, because the fact that they were shibir and religious extremists, this was never disclosed. And now the kind of demands they're making is very similar to that, like a caliphate. They want to establish a caliphate. They are challenging our national anthem. They want to do away with the constitution and replace it with something else, um, because they have a problem with the fact that the sovereignty belongs to the people of this republic. So the birth of Bangladesh was very clear that nationalism or a statehood or a nationhood cannot be based on any particular religion, but it was based on our language and our culture, which is ancient, and the roots are very, very deep. Whereas Bangladesh may be relatively new, 53 years old, but our ancient culture, our heritage, our language has a very, very ancient roots in the soils of Bangladesh. And these alleged political parties, because it's a dogma, I don't see um, uh, any philosophy there as such, whether it's Hizbut or it's Jamaat Islam, none of them believe in the republic as it stands, because they want to have um, a, a, a group of people or a caliphate of some sort, where they will establish a theocracy where they'll rule by divine power, divine decree. And they themselves are claim themselves to be Allah's representative on earth. So it begs the question: when, where, how did Allah give them a power of attorney to establish Allah's rule on this planet Earth?
That's a beautiful statement you made. When and where did Allah give them the power of attorney to take over or control things? Yeah, this is truly remarkable, and I'm going to put that in my quote,
Okay.
attributing it to you as well. The power
Because
of
you see, even Prophet Muhammad, may peace be upon him, he was messenger of Allah and he was a witness. This authority, this power was not delegated even to the Prophet of Allah. So where do they get this self-appointed, arrogate themselves with self-appointed authority? And the
Mm,
Islam that most people in Bangladesh know is an Islam of peace, inclusion.
right.
So we are not familiar with this aggressive uh, Islam that they're, or Islamism or political Islam, which is what they're
Mm.
propagating and promoting. That's alien to us. So this
So
is not.
if it is alien to you, and I believe it is, the question is, are we looking at a Bangladesh that will be another version of ISIS, or Taliban of Afghanistan? Is Bangladesh going to become one of those kind of countries?
Um, I'm not going to give you an yes and no answer. As a Bangladeshi, as a Bengali, someone who comes from there, I will tell you absolutely no, never, never, never. Right?
Right.
On the other hand, as an academic, as a researcher, when I look at it, I see a lot of investment, quote unquote investment, coming into Bangladesh, right? In order to trans, I wouldn't even use the word transfer, regress us into something that we are not. I don't see that sort of investment amongst and between countries and people who are progressive, who are secular. You and I don't really know each other. It's the first time I'm in your show. So we have not engaged with each other. There's very little people to people contact. Track two, track three diplomacy hasn't really happened. But those who are enemies of peace loving people, they engage, they invest in each other. They're zealous. You and I are not zealous. We have regular lives, regular jobs, families. We do this show and we go away. So, this, if you like, in terms of the time, the effort, and the financing that's going on. That's mega. So let me put it another way. Our two major political parties, Awami League and Bangladesh Nationalist Party, BNP, both are born from the soil of Bangladesh. But if you think about Hizbut Tahrir or Jamaat Islam, they are multinational entities. They have global resources, global financing, think tanks, and their headquarters are outside the territory of Bangladesh. So decisions are taken outside the territory of Bangladesh, and these are like local branches who are instructed to take certain actions. So these are multinational entities, and the local parties, with due respect to them, are a bit like cottage industry. They don't have a long term vision, long term policy, they're ad hoc and arbitrary. So they have to pull their socks up and become more strategic, um, and not act in the arbitrary manner that they do. But it will take time. It can't happen overnight. Bangladesh is a relatively new country. But these foreign entities have come and they're purporting to take over. One of the reasons, perhaps, is that the birth of Bangladesh is a nightmare for Muslim rulers around the world because most countries around the world where majority Muslims are living, they're not enjoying democracy. The Muslim people are sometimes subjects or under a military rule of some sort, whereas we are a ray of hope for Muslim people around the world. For girls like Malala, they want to catch our hand because the birth of Bangladesh is autochthonous. Our constitution is an autochthonous constitution. So we, the people, have gifted ourselves a constitution and a republic. So if you will recall this, Vibhuti, when India and Pakistan were given independence, there was an act of parliament in the UK, Indian Independence Act, by virtue of which two dominions, independent dominions, were set up, India and Pakistan. Right? So there was as the colonial power retreated, there was a form of continuity. But we, the people of Bangladesh, we proclaimed our independence without any permission from any superior power or big brother of any sort. So this is known as UDI, Unilateral Declaration of Independence. Any country or any group of people, whenever they try to exercise uh, independence through unilateral declaration, they were called secessionist, breakaway faction, treason. And look, Palestine to date hasn't been able to do that. Biafra example was very recent when Bangladesh came into existence. East Rhodesia, when they tried to do that, the world didn't even look at them. But how did we do that? Legitimately, lawfully. And our Proclamation of Independence, which is dated 10th of April 1971, I'm very proud because that was drafted by my father. And he was a very young lawyer then. He was only 35, Barrister M. Amirul Islam. So Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman proclaimed our independence on 26 March. And within 2 weeks, on 10th of April 1971, we emerged as a sovereign republic. So the elected representatives ratified the declaration given by Bangabandhu on 26 March, and exercising the people's right of self-determination through their elected representatives, they transformed themselves into a constituent assembly and proclaimed that the will of the people is supreme. Hence, all power of the republic belongs to the people, and declared Bangladesh as People's Republic of Bangladesh. Our name is People's Republic of Bangladesh, not with an apostrophe S. Why is it peoples and not people? Because the word people is plural in English, but we say peoples. Because there were different groups of people also, not just those who speak Bengali, but there were people in the hills, there were other minority groups. So we acknowledge and recognize all of these people, all of these groups. So it's People's Republic of Bangladesh. So it's our strength is pluralism, unity within diversity. That was the basis upon which Bangladesh was born. And we also, as we proclaimed our independence, we also, in the same instrument, we said that we belong to the family of nation. And as a member of the family of nation, under international law, we pledged our commitment to the United Nations Charter and the rights and obligations that devolve upon us as a member of the family of nations. We shall respect that and honor that. So the little background to that is Pakistan. When Pakistan was made into a dominion along with India, India within 2 years had a constitution and it became a republic. So it became a member of it continued to be the member of the Commonwealth, but as a republic, did not acknowledge the king as the head of the state. And Lord Mountbatten became the Governor General of India. Now, please mark this. Something was very different for Pakistan. And I would like to argue through your program whether Pakistan ever became independent. And this is why. So, when, by virtue of the same act of parliament, when Indian Independence Act, Pakistan became an independent dominion, the word used is dominion, not a state. Both India and Pakistan were independent territories and dominion. So Pakistan's Governor General, guess who was Pakistan's Governor General? Mr. Jinnah. So if Mr. Jinnah, who Pakistan claims that it uh, is its the founding father of Pakistan, but then he was also the Governor General of the King of England. Therefore, to what extent Pakistan was ever independent? Now, thereafter, the Governor General, so Pakistan didn't have a government of its own. Whereas in India, Jinnah had a different government. India had a government of its own, led by Nehru, and of course, Mahatma Gandhi was there behind the scene. So Mr. Jinnah had two flags. He was carrying the flag of a Governor General, simultaneously the Pakistan flag. And there was always a tension between the Governor General and whatever government or that Pakistan had. And there had been a number of cases with the Governor General who dismiss the Pakistan politics or political leaders. And there was a tension also with the military, right? So this was a dominion which was just curved out of the greater subcontinent, and it had no constitution. So there was a constitution negotiated in 1956, 1958, but they were never ratified by the people. And whether that constitution should be secular or an Islamic state, the people of Bengal never acknowledged or accepted Islamic state or an Islamic republic. The East Bengal leadership always thought it was a contradiction in terms. It was an
That's what
oxymoron.
is very interesting for me here now. Back to this. We know that the entire independence of Bangladesh that happened was because of the Pakistani neglect. The way the Pakistani government of West Pakistan was imposing its directives on Bangladesh, and you revolted. Very, very proud country, very proud people with a significant historical heritage. Tell me one thing: why is it that this man, interim president of interim government, is hobnobbing with Pakistan right now? The very people who destroyed your ethnic culture, from whom you sought your independence. What kind of a political arrangement you see is emerging out of that?
Um, well, I was just getting to that. So,
Okay.
you see, the majority Muslim people
Mm.
we have given ourselves a constitution based on secular democracy. It's unheard of. No one has done it thus far. So, as I was saying, we are a ray of hope for Muslim people around the world, because which means that uh, the sovereign power of the republic belongs to the people, whereas they want to govern that sovereignty belongs to Allah, and as Allah's representative on earth, some form of a theocracy or an Islamic republic, right? So that is the bone of contention. Whereas we see a difference between a temporal and spiritual power. In the spiritual realm, many people in Bangladesh, or most people in Bangladesh, may believe that Allah is most powerful, but on a temporal level, when it comes to governance, they believe that those who will serve the people must be accountable to the people, and Parliament's autonomy to enact laws for and on behalf of the Republic. Whereas the jihadis, the extremists, do not accept that. They believe that laws are divine and only they know what these laws are. So that is where the bone of contention is. So Pakistan never had a constitution. They were governing through the barrel of the gun. So the people of Pakistan and East Bengal never had a say in their governance. And yes, I think they were a bit of a bully. So there was discrimination against the Bengalis in various jobs, in the military, in trade, in commerce, whereas Golden Bengal to the golden fiber, what was jute in the 60s and 70s and the 50s, which is bringing in the foreign currency. The central government in Pakistan was robbing all that away from the East Bengalis, making one capital after another, and the East Bengal continued to be impoverished. So there was economic, cultural, political, and social indignation from the people. And Awami League was really the only party then. BNP didn't emerge till much later. So there was a 6-point demand. And for the first time, Pakistan held an election in 1970 and early 1971. And in that election, Awami League, the East Bengal, had a landslide victory. Out of 169 seats, Awami League, the East Bengalis won 167 seats. So we had a clear mandate and majority to form a government. So instead of the military junta handing over government to the elected representatives, and while this dialogue was continuing with the military junta, and Bhutto, Pakistan's People's Party leader, was trying to be very clever, and he said, well, in West Pakistan, I'll be the leader, and in East Pakistan, Mujib, you be the leader. But that would be totally against the universal franchise. One person, one vote meant that our leader, Bangabandhu, had the mandate to form the government for entire Pakistan. But they couldn't hack it that a Bengali would rule Pakistan. So instead, in a treacherous manner, just as the arms are being imported now, as it is alleged through the various media, at that time, arms and ammunitions were being brought in a treacherous manner while they were telling us lies that they want to negotiate. And on the night of 25th March 1971, an unjust and treacherous war was unleashed upon the unarmed civilian people of Bangladesh. And a genocide was unleashed. And the torture upon the women in particular, the rape. So 3 million people perished, at least, if not more. Um, the rape upon 3 lakh women. In 1971, we didn't have language like ethnic cleansing, which the world humanity coined after Bosnia. But that's kind of a thing that was going on. And, the women were told, shh, remain quiet, it's a shame. And to date, we haven't told our story from a gender perspective. It's time we break the silence and tell the story, actually, the atrocities that was going on. And it was the most humiliating defeat for Pakistan. And mind you, Vibhuti, there is a tendency to hijack our story. So Pakistan and India at times said that this is the Indo-Pak war, which it wasn't. It was our Mukti Juddha. So Pakistan attacked India from the Western Front when they were looking for an exit route. So already the Pakistan supplies were cut off. And then, we had the joint operation forces entered the territory of, in Bangladesh, and Pakistan surrendered. And to date, in the history of the world in modern times, that was the most humiliating defeat. And that is something I don't think Pakistan has forgotten, or the ISI hasn't
If they
forgotten.
have not forgotten that, are they
I can't hear
so,
you.
yeah, I
Please,
said
Annie.
that if they have not forgotten that abject surrender and defeat, are they now coming back into somewhere along the line, usurp Bangladesh completely? I mean, I'm not going to go into the 71 war as an Indo-Pak war and what India did in Bangladesh to fight for its liberation and, and mukti, so to say. But important part again here is,
Mind you, we do acknowledge the
yes, yes, I
Indian
know, I know.
soldiers who
Yes,
gave their lives, and that is something very much we acknowledge.
right.
And it's a friendship that's been forged in blood, so as to speak. So we have a very deep root with India.
Yes,
And the question that you ask, I see the drift of it. The answer is, um, I don't know for sure, but those are the kind of, through various social media, various people are saying that. And, there's another side to this war. One was the gender perspective, which we haven't articulated. The other was, the world was at the verge of a third world war. There was Seventh Fleet in Bay
yes.
of Bengal. Yeah, the Russians were there, um, and this was a time when Bangladesh was a catalyst to bring India and Russia together. And the friendship treaty that was signed between Russia and India, Bangladesh was an absolute catalyst for this. And with Pakistan uh, and US, you had the center, the Seattle, and you'll remember that Kissinger faked an illness when he, after meeting Mrs. Indira Gandhi, he came to see Yahya in Pakistan, and that was his trip to PRC, China, right, which was supposed to be the frontier, and he faked an illness to go to China. So US at the time, the Nixon administration was on the wrong side. We were the good guys for your audience.
Yes.
We were the good guys. So,
I'm
the
glad you
US,
remember that element of the anecdote.
so,
Yes. Yes.
yes, the US administration was on the wrong side. And that needs to be acknowledged as well. The Nixon administration sided with Pakistan against democracy. So the military junta should have handed over power to the elected representative. The US administration was against empowerment of women, the brutality that was going on upon the women, the rape, the pillage. The US was selling and supplying arms, so was UK. Having said that, I want to acknowledge the people of US and the British people and the Australian people. While their governments were confused and sided with the bad guys, you know, the kind of support we got from the common people, it's heart rendering. When I do my research, I see the school kids, college kids with their pocket money contributing to the cause of the refugees. My hair is standing up when I'm saying that. Hunger strikes in Australia. In UK, the nurses, the voluntary services they gave to the refugee camps, the empathy with the plight of the refugees, the George Harrison concert in US, one of the biggest concerts. Joan Baez, I recall her, and with utmost respect, the song Bangladesh, story of 7 million people. And then, Rod Stewart, there was a huge concert here in the cricket fields in Kennington in the UK. And so, the support we got from the freedom loving people around the world, particularly the Western world, it's so heart-rending, and we haven't to date acknowledged and recognized some of these individuals, some of these artists, um, which is also sad. I
Mm.
think it's upon us to acknowledge that. So while we, if you like, it's shame to the Nixon administration and to Mr. Kissinger for what they did, supplying arms and selling their arms, and opened up China. Now, I want to ask you a question, Vibhuti. So, this China issue and US issue, they're on the wrong side. And this China thing that US has opened vis-a-vis the US foreign policy, are they regretting it now?
I think most probably yes. It is a rhetorical question, but I want to,
How
the
about the
remaining time that
process
we
of
have.
Bangladeshis?
Yes,
The Kissinger's, flight to China, has it become uh, something that US cannot handle anymore?
very true. It is
Right?
very. It is not an easy question for US to deal with at the moment. But I want to, as we come to the closing time of the show, this is not a conversation that has to be had once. It needs to be had many more times because
Of
there are many
course.
more dimensions to the whole challenge. One of the things that we haven't even touched upon is the extremists, the elements that you are talking about, which are not following Bangladeshi Bangla ethos, but they're carrying the extremist ethos of religious perfidy, if I may say so, imposing Talibanization of Bangladesh that is going on. In that, thousands and thousands of Hindu lives have been lost. 1971 war genocide that you refer to is also being recognized in the United States as the largest ever Hindu genocide. And these are issues that you and I need to fight together to reestablish. And
Vibhuti, this is
my one question to you would be, and then we will end the day today, and we will have more conversation on this again, is that how do you see the path forward? Do you think Yunus is going to announce a regular election? What is BNP's stand in this whole matter? And BNP and Awami League are the original ethnic ground sub parties of Bangladesh. How the foreigners are coming in, what's going to happen? You have 3 minutes to do that.
maybe five.
Maybe.
All
Okay.
right. Okay, thank you. The first a statement that when we fought our freedom in 1971, it was the Bengali nationalism. And we used the word Bengali, which included Hindus, Buddhists, Christians, Jews, everyone. So, I don't, we are not comfortable you taking that away from our ethnicity. And the genocide was because we were an ethnic group. In that ethnic group, yes, Hindus were there, but the whole ethos were that it was not based on any religion. So now, for it to be shown as a Hindu genocide, that's the point that I'm making. It's like taking our narrative away from us. Pakistan tries to do that to a degree. The India
The
tries to do that.
Pakistani army did that. It's not blaming on Bangladesh, it's the blaming on Pakistan. We
Yes,
have, just
yes,
as we are the good guys, we have the common enemy. That's the
yes, we do. We do. So I would invite you to look upon us and our fight as, the Bengalis as an ethnic group, which includes many religion. So we're not comfortable when that group is divided based on religion. In fact, our whole ethos of the birth of Bangladesh is a secular democracy, not based on any religion. So many Muslims gave their lives, Hindus gave their lives, Buddhists gave their lives, everyone gave their life. So it's not just a Hindu atrocity or a Hindu genocide. So
correct
I,
me
I
if
just,
I'm wrong. Correct
I
me if
just,
I'm wrong. One thing
yes.
when Bangladesh was born, was it called the Islamic Republic of Bangladesh or
Of
was it
course
never?
not.
Of
Of
course not.
course not.
Okay.
I just told you our name is
Yeah.
People's Republic of Bangladesh, which included all different groups.
Okay.
So it's based on language. In India, if you see even today, all the states in India, all the rajyas, it's based on language. So in Europe, they're all Christian. But why do they have different countries? Because each country has their own. Germans have their language, the French has the Brits have theirs. So countries, nations are usually based on language, not
Mm.
based on religion. Otherwise, Europe would be one country, which Pope, Rome tried to do in Middle Ages. But without digressing, I come back the way
Right.
forward.
Right.
The way forward, the way how I see it, recently, the Supreme Court gave a judgment whereby the 15th Amendment was challenged and it was declared ultra vires to the Constitution, by virtue of which 13th Amendment has been resurrected. Now, you'll ask me, what is the 13th Amendment? The 13th Amendment is a caretaker form of government. So we had this provision in our Constitution that in between elected governments, the power is handed over to a caretaker government for about 3 months. And the caretaker government is an impartial, neutral government, not a party political government, whose only purpose and ethos is to support the election commission and conduct an election. Now, once this election commission has been resurrected, the present government has no mandate to even hold an election. The interim government, he's not the president of the interim government, he is the chief advisor to the interim government, Dr. Yunus. And this government is not a caretaker government. It has no characteristics of a caretaker government. A caretaker government never goes into any policy matters, and it is usually headed by the immediate past Chief Justice. So now this government has no mandate to hold an election. So the way forward I see is the President of the Republic. There's a provision within the framework of the Constitution, Article 141A, by virtue of which, if there is economic crisis or internal emergency, along with external emergency, if the president deems appropriate, can summon a state of emergency. And this is not martial law. This is not led by the army. This is led by the president. And this is only for 140 days, 120 days, meaning 4 months. Within this time, I would invite, and I see that an opportunity to the president to go for recovery of illegal arms, because in order to hold a free and fair election, we started our conversation dialogue about the illegal arms that's there. And we should invite back the UN fact-finding mission, who went back in a very frustrated manner because this government did not cooperate with them. They did not have any data or information. They should be called back, and under their supervision, this arms should be recovered. And once we go for the arms recovery drive, we will see and will identify the role of these radicals, the third force that I'm talking about, the sinister force that was lurking behind all this that was going on, which was perhaps meticulously planned. So once that happens, then we need to identify and eliminate them, ban them. Already some Hizb ut-Tahrir is banned, but other organizations which do not, as per their party constitution, they do not accept or believe in the republic or people power, sovereignty belongs to the people, nor do they believe the parliament's authority to enact laws, because they think the laws are divine. So those elements, the so-called political parties, they have to be banned, because we cannot have a party that doesn't believe in the premise upon which Bangladesh is born. So it's an antithesis of Bangladesh. So once they're eliminated, within 4 months, this arms drive, illegal arms recovery is done. Then I believe the president is then competent to invite the immediate past Chief Justice to form a caretaker form of government, and the caretaker form of government can uh, give full support to the election commission and hold an election. You wanted to know what BNP wants? BNP, I think, wants the same thing. AL, what does they want? AL also wants election at the earliest opportunity. Two major parties wants this, and between and amongst them, they have about 80% voters of the republic.
Last thing, short answer. Do you think it's going to happen in time, or is it going to be the interim government is going to rule as long as it wishes, considering that the extremist elements, the foreign elements, have invaded and have captured power, and they are the ones who are killing you, as you said, every Bangladeshi, or belonging to every religion, every faith, every denomination? Are we heading towards a forced election like it happened in Pakistan or Afghanistan, where you have the extremists win, and your will and my will are subjugated.
Bibit, you had these 6 questions and you want me to give it one answer in 1 minute. You've
You
got
are
to
you,
invite me
you are
back.
you are an attorney. You are a barrister. You can sum up the whole thing in one sentence.
You'll have to invite me back.
We
I'm
will.
kind
We will
of
talk.
imposing myself on
Yeah,
you.
that's what
Uh,
I'm trying to say to you. That
the
we need.
right thinking, you see, none of us live in an island. We are all interdependent. Um, uh, what happens if you see in South, let's put it this way, in Middle East, even MBS is modernizing, right? Things are moving forward. This radical Islam is or Islamism, we are seeing that being eliminated even in the Middle East. The only pocket that may remain is South Asia. Afghanistan has fallen. Pakistan is almost gone. They have so much internal issues. Whether Baluch will remain or not, we don't know. And Bangladesh is a crossroad. And what the freedom loving people of Bangladesh, who believe in democracy and secularism and equality for all, the birth of Bangladesh was for human dignity, social justice, and um, uh, equality. Uh, and uh, those are values that are universal. So these universal values, I believe, we shall always win. This is something non-negotiable. It cannot be compromised under any circumstances. So there's no other conclusion but that sense shall prevail. And we discussed kind of a roadmap how this can happen. So as I said, the jihadis, they engage with each other. They have a lot of investment amongst each other. They parlay, they network. We don't. And it's high time that we start doing the same. And the right thinking people who are the majority, but we are the silent majority. We don't jump up and down and burn cars and set fire to key installation points. Hence, we are not in the headline. So we need to make concerted effort to come together and support each other. Um, and we shouldn't have to wait till there's a big crisis to do that. This needs to be ongoing and continuous.
Thank you very much for being
Thank
here,
you.
and I deeply appreciate your coming on the show for the first time. And I promise we will have more conversation on this because you know, Bangladesh, Pakistan are part of South Asia, which was once upon a time an Indian subcontinent. I still believe it is Indian subcontinent, be that as it may. Having said that, I want to say we will need have more conversation in understanding the issue. Is the problem is that unless and until we understand the why of something, we don't get the answer to that. And I believe that every problem has a solution if we are looking for it. If you do not want the solution, there is you can be beating around the bush all your life. Just a few days ago, I had mentioned to America and to American senators and congressmen that either it's I mean I'm seeing it for forever since I came here in 1991 that America is still talking about comprehensive immigration reform, war on drugs, and is still continuing, not ended. The war on terror since 9/11, none of the wars has ended. The war on women, women's abuse, and child pornography and sex scandal and everything else that goes on.
Modern day slavery.
The
Uh,
modern day
yeah.
indentured in servitude and slavery is not ended. So the question is, are we incompetent or we don't want to solve the problem?
You
That
know,
is,
uh, Vibhuti, in 1971, we didn't have a standing army, but we fought this war against terror. We didn't call it that. So, the rest of the world needs to engage with this because we know a thing or two how to fight this without nuclear weapons. So, you talked about the subcontinent, and I call it the British Raj. During the British Raj, what they used to say is what Bengal thinks today, the rest of India thinks tomorrow.
right.
So I would like to take a step further without being chauvinistic that what Bengal thinks today, maybe the rest of the world will think tomorrow. Because in 1971, we fought this Islamism, radicalization, without any standing army. So please, the rest of the world, engage with us, learn a thing or two from us as to how to go about doing it. So, with
Absolutely
those
correct.
words,
We have to learn
uh,
from
I'd
each
invite
other.
you to say Joy Bangla. So,
Jai
what
Hind.
Bengal thinks today, let the rest of the world find out and think
Perfectly
tomorrow.
fine. I definitely agree with you. I also say at the same time that if despite all the knowledge and wisdom, if we commit suicide, that means that knowledge and wisdom did not help us. And that's the important issue to be revisited again. So thank you very much for joining today. As I
Thank you.
always tell my viewers, Joy Bangla is one part. As I always say, Satyameva Jayate is a classic Hindu Indian statement. Truth will triumph, truth must triumph. I apologize to my viewers today. Something has gone wrong with my camera that I'm not looking as smart as I always did. My face is fudged and it's a little bit of a problem here. We'll fix it. Next time you won't have that problem. Thank you very much for watching, Tania ji. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
We'll talk
Thank you.
again. Until then, see you.
Okay.
Namaste. Namaste.